Hello there, my name is Cyril Jeet Gupta and today I want to talk to you about Google's Hummingbird algorithm, how it affects your business and how you can get over it. This is the first lesson in the series, and in this lesson we will begin by introducing Hummingbird and talking about the impact that it has on search engine optimization and on search as a whole. So let's get started. Alright, before I actually begin talking about the specific impact of Hummingbird on SEO, I want to go a little back into the history of search engines and talk about Google algorithm as it began. Well, I'm sure you know by now, if you've been in the industry for a little while, that when Google began, Google's algorithm was all about PageRank, and PageRank was all about links. More links equals to better rankings. Right, this was how the actual SEO industry has worked for almost 15 years of Google's existence. PageRank was the revolutionary new system, new idea that instantly helped Google deliver better search results. Right? So the basic principle of PageRank was approval by peers. The thing was this: if you had a website and other websites or webmasters were linking to your content from their websites, it would be a mark of respect in Google's eyes. It would tell Google that you were making valuable content so valuable that people wanted to link to it, people wanted to share about it on their websites. So this was, you can say, the earliest form of social approval, social sharing, which Google used to assess how valuable a website is. So this social mark of approval was actually put into a mathematical formula and turned into PageRank. And the basis of the formula was very simple. If you were linked from many websites, lots of websites, you had to be special, you had to have valuable content. So in the beginning, Google's formula was quite simply, the more links that are pointing to a website, the more valuable the website is. And of course, it had another element of, the PageRank that is from the source website. What this means is, it also assessed where the link is coming from. Is it coming from a website which is new, which is not so well known, which is not visited by a lot of people? Or is it coming from a website which is very popular, it's a known authority in its field, and lots of people are visiting it, reading the content on that website? Now, it gave the websites which were popular, which were good, a higher page rank, and if a website of a higher page rank links back to a website which was of a lower page rank, it gave a little bit of that page rank respect to the new website. So this way it could actually find out how well the website is doing. If good websites are linking to it, it has to be good, the page rank is improved, and the ranking in the search results was also improved. But there was a disconnect. For a long while, this was a perfect system as long as it was not abused, as long as links were kept for the intended purpose of either sharing information or linking to valuable content. And that's what linking was all about in the beginning of the internet. But as time went by, the nature of PageRank changed and the nature of search engine optimization also changed. But there is a major flaw in the PageRank system. The flaw which prevents PageRank from being a long-term system, from being an authority system of ranking content. That very important flaw is that PageRank is channelized from the peers or the website. It's not channelized from the clients or the visitors of the website. So the fact is this: if you have got a higher PageRank, it means more websites are linking to you. It does not mean naturally that viewers like your content. Viewers get to see the content that other websites like, other webmasters like, not what other viewers like necessarily. So this flaw has crept in, and the entropy that this flaw actually created in the beginning has been building up, and because of this problem, people were able to game the system and abuse PageRank, and that is what gave rise to the new updates and the SEO mayhem that we've been seeing since the last few months or even the last year. I will talk about that later as we go on into the course, but for now remember, PageRank is a flawed system, or it was a flawed system because it was approval by peers, approval by webmasters, approval by websites, not approval by visitors. So we just saw how PageRank was an excellent system in the beginning, but it was not the perfect system and it was prone to abuse. And now we want to talk about what sort of abuse it gave birth to. So let's talk about how SEO professionals, I won't call many of those who abused this system professionals, but let's say how the SEO people gamed the system. Right, because PageRank was all about links, websites could get a better rank if they built more links. It was logical. PageRank was all about links. Links that were pointing to your website, to your web page, from other web pages, from other websites. And the more links you had, the more PageRank you had, and higher rankings you had in the search engine. And SEO for a long time was about making links on every website that you could potentially make a link on. And people used every kind of tactic to make that link. They would make the links by putting in articles, by leaving comments featuring links back to their content, by buying links on websites that were maybe more popular and the webmasters were looking to make a quick profit by selling links or by selling ads, by trading links, by exchanging links. Put a link onto my website, I will put a link to your website, and I won't care about how good your website is or how well you are writing your content. And they would steal links, they would just make profiles featuring their link backs, or they would just try to use any kind of spamming measure or spamming tactic to put the link on the target website. Basically, it was a free for all. Make a link any way possible, make it using every tactic, use automated bots, hire help to make links in a lot of places, buy them, cheat and make links. It was all about link building, links. And even the on-page optimization was abused in a similar manner, because viewers were not the people who decided how good the website is, it was other website owners, and the links pointing to your website from their websites, and the links sometimes featured the keyword that you wanted to target, which would then make your page rank higher for that keyword. And inside the content itself, you wanted to game the system once more. Your aim would now be, if you were an SEO professional of that time, it would be to make the keyword pop out. And for that, many SEO professionals, I would say most of the SEO professionals recommended repeating keywords to a specific density, and they would all have different sort of formulas. Some people would say repeat it thrice in a paragraph. Some people would say repeat it 4 times, twice, put it in the headlines, put it in the subheadlines, put it in the footer, put in the title, the description, every which where. And all of this time, Google was fed in this bad quality content. Content took a back seat. Optimization became the most important part in promoting a website. So if you're on page, repeat the keywords. If you're off page, build links. And that was the primary SEO tactic, and all the SEO tactics that you might have heard about in many places, they were a variation of these two themes: link back, repeat content, repeat keywords. So these were the primary ways to get visitors quickly without bothering about content in the past. I read a very interesting quote in a book once. It was, "There ain't no such thing as a free lunch." This means that if you get something, you gotta pay for it. And even if you feel that you're getting it for free right now, but there will be a time in the future when you will have to pay for it, or there might be a time in the past which you don't know about that you've already paid for it. So this applies to the website industry also. It applies to the internet marketers, and it applies to SEO too. When you build a short-term fix for a system that you depend on long-term, things go bad. Right. So what were the SEO people doing? What was the SEO strategy all about? It was about building a short-term solution, trying to find a backdoor into the system on which they depended long-term, because they were not there to just make a quick buck and get out. They were trying to keep the rankings for a long time, to keep the incomes for a long time, coming back to them month after month, year after year. But that does not happen, because when a problem is small, it's ignorable, but when it becomes so large that it consumes the system, then it has to be addressed. And that's why later on, Google made bad quality content the most important problem it had to solve. It was even bigger than getting search right. They had to remove the bad quality content from the search engine. And that is why once the Google CEO, Eric, said, the internet is like a cesspool, and that was a perfect example of what was Google's priority then. It was to clear the cesspool, it was to clean it. And Google did that by some updates that it released shortly after. The first one was Panda. Panda was targeted at reducing the rankings of websites that had low quality content, that were not producing quality articles or images or whatever they were producing. Things were of low quality and they were just in search because of targeting a whole lot of keywords. And the second update, which it released a little while later, was called Penguin. And Penguin reduced the rankings of websites that had built too many links. Link building, which was an important part of improving your page rank, of getting visitors and getting ranked, was now not such a good idea if you were building bad quality links. And making a website with lots of articles, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of articles targeting specific keywords with bad quality 500-word content was not a good idea anymore too. Now let's understand the nature of these fixes from Google, these updates that would actually destroy the search engine optimization industry, which had worked on bad practices and let only the search engine optimization that was of good quality, that was fair, survive. The first one was, of course, Panda, which I'm calling Google Fix Step 1. In Panda, it addressed a common SEO trick to create hundreds of articles targeting a specific keywords. And because they did not want to make the effort of getting good quality articles written, to make the expenditure of getting good quality articles, they would use tactics like hiring very cheap article writers from the internet, from websites, maybe people who did not even understand the language, who could not express them properly, as long as they could just write a paragraph with a keyword a specific number of times. Or sometimes they would even get automated software called article spinners. The article spinners would actually replace the words in the articles and the phrases sometimes in the articles with synonyms or with words of similar meanings. Now that means that they would have a completely different article, which would fool the search engine, of course, because it would think that it's a different article targeting a different keyword, but it would be useless for the visitor who was visiting the website, because the content would sometimes either be so shoddy that they could not stay on the website at all and find it meaningful, or it could be confusing or repetitive, or they might see the entire website being filled with such content. So it was not a good time to be an internet user, and it was not a good time to be a search engine, because at both ends you were being gamed by the unethical website owners, or the part of the industry that was unethical. So Panda, what it did was it levied a negative penalty on the overall ranking of the website, which it identified as using these practices. For this, Google actually created a special algorithm which it based upon a study and a little research and a lot of work carried out manually by people who were trying to identify these bad quality articles and spot the common trends in them. And Google could finally predict, or it thought that it could predict if an article was repetitive or if it was badly written, using a special algorithm. And when Panda was activated on the internet, millions of websites went down in rankings because the content quality was not good, because the content was repetitive. And as a side effect, because Google gave more respect or authority to one of the big websites or the big websites in every niche, suddenly the websites which were bigger, which were more recognizable, became even more so, because Google was returning more results from these websites, from these so-called authority sources, from the news websites, from the big boys. And this was a negative step for all the small website owners who were trying to do actual honest work on Google, who were being penalized wrongfully by Panda. And it was there in so many cases. Google got literally thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of reports from people who told Google how their website was wrongly targeted. And that's why Google has been trying to update Panda, and after every update it's trying to make the algorithm more natural, better. So hopefully by the time Google is done, people who are making bad quality content would still stay deranked, but the people who are making good quality content will emerge back in the search engine and get back rankings. Okay, so if Panda was made to address the problem of bad quality content on the websites, the second major search engine update from Google, called Penguin, was meant to identify the websites that were using bad linking practices, that were link building in unethical ways, and get them deranked. Because earlier, link building was the most popular and effective SEO measure. You could actually buy software that would put your link in hundreds of thousands of blogs or websites and just spam the entire internet with your links, right? Or you could buy links, or you could trade links, or you could put links manually through comments on blogs. And there were so many ways to build links, and people were trying to get through their link on other people's websites in as many ways as possible, without caring about whether it was reasonable to put a link there, whether the website was connected to their niche, or whether the website was respectable enough. None of these factors would matter as long as they got their link out. And the common link building tactics were dropping comments containing links on blogs and websites, as I just told you, getting webmasters to link to you using money, relationships, links, link exchanges, creating a fake profile on website, creating low quality content networks with links pointing back at you. Right, so all these tactics were a part of poor link building exercise. And Penguin identified the websites with these low quality links and levied a penalty. And that actually destroyed a lot of businesses online. Of course, Google left a way out. If you could actually remove those links, and you could tell Google that you've removed your link, remove the bad links, that you've cleaned up your act, Google would give you a better ranking, or it would boost you when the next update came up. But that was, of course, later. Right now, your business was dead. And that brings us to the final step, or the final fix that Google has made in recent times to fix the problem of bad quality content, and that is the bird. It's clear to Google now that ranking websites based on peer popularity is a bad idea. It's not an idea that can be used infinitely. And that's why with each tweak in the algorithm that Google has made in recent times, PageRank's importance has reduced. PageRank is being now relegated to a less important place with every update from Google. Already factors like social sharing, which could be a better measure of viewer popularity, page quality, which is a better measure of professionalism, are being given more importance in Google's ranking algorithm, and the PageRank link building, or the link oriented system that it had earlier, is being given less and less importance. And finally, the latest update, HummingBird, it's all about the last step, or the last holy grail of search engine. With HummingBird, Google has tried to understand the content. HummingBird is all about semantics and context, the next step in search engine technology. And in the coming lesson, we will discuss what exactly that means, how exactly it is so revolutionary, and how it will change search in a big way in the coming time. So this is the end of the first lesson. I hope by now you've understood what was the problem in search, what Google did to fix it, and how it changes the nature of search, and why so many search engine tactics which were effective earlier are not effective now. In the next lesson, we will understand what HummingBird is all about, how it works. So make sure you watch the next one too. Hello and welcome to Keyword Cheat Getting Over Google Hummingbird Lesson 2. In this lesson, I want to talk about how Hummingbird works, what's the technology behind it, and what makes it so special. So let's get started. Hummingbird is the new Google. All the earlier updates that we've seen on Google in recent times, including Panda and Penguin and all the others, they were actually tweaks to the main algorithm. The main algorithm was just improved a little bit, and the core, the PageRank system was maintained. It was still the same. But Hummingbird is a very different move by Google. Hummingbird is a replacement algorithm. It keeps only some of the old formula, and it changes too much of the old formula. It changes too much of the old code with new algorithm code, with new factors of search. Earlier, of course, PageRank was the most important factor, and other factors were added on as Google gained experience. But this time with Hummingbird, there are over 200 factors that determine ranking, and contextual and semantical analysis of the content are the most important factors now. This is the most important change. Google is now actually trying to understand what is in your content and how it relates to the world. It's like a real person trying to understand what you're talking about. That will help Google deliver much more accurate results. That will help Google serve its visitors much more better. And in this lesson, we will see exactly how it works and exactly how it will create a revolution in the search engine technology market, or in the search engine world. Let's understand what Hummingbird and semantics mean, or what semantics is to Hummingbird. The word semantic means something related to the meaning of the word. And Google is trying to understand that meaning. Google is trying to see beyond the arrangement of alphabets into the meaning, understand what the content actually means. Till now, Google was basically a database of text, and Google search meant searching that text for occurrences of the keyword that you were trying to find. And basically it was all about the arrangement of the alphabets, or the arrangement of the characters that powered search. But now Google wants to understand the meaning, and it will use this understanding, or whatever limited understanding of the meaning it has, to give you more accurate results. Which means the results will not just be limited to the keyword that you're looking for, but they will reflect the understanding of the keyword itself. That's why if you want to be found, it is important for you to enable Google to understand your content, to let Google understand your content. Because if Google understands the meaning, it will give priority to it over the content that it doesn't understand. It's very important to understand this concept. If Google has a basic understanding of what you're talking about, and there's somebody else whose content Google doesn't understand so well, it's going to give priority to your content, because Google will think that this is nearer what the person is searching for. This is nearer the query. So make sure that you take all steps to be understood by Google, and in the coming few lessons I will tell you exactly how to do that. The second step after building a semantical understanding of the content is, of course, placing it in context. That's what Hummingbird does next. It tries to interrelate the content with all the other content that it has access to. It tries to understand the relationship between concepts and to place it in the proper context in the world. Google is trying to understand exactly what you are trying to talk about in order to give you filtered and suggested results. Results which are not just about the words that you're searching for, but the ideas, the topics, and the things. And the result will also widen the concept of search or of your query, because the results from Google using this technology will feature content other than the keyword, which means you will get access to content that you might not have searched for, but which is totally relevant to what you've searched for, just like in the real world. And that raises an important question for the webmasters. If your website is not a part of the context, if it's not semantically understood, you are going to lose visitors because Google won't know the meaning behind the content, and it won't be able to relate your content to all the other pieces of content that's on the web. And any website, any competitor which enables Google to gain a semantical understanding will be placed in that context and will gain all the viewers. So it's important to be a first mover, it's important to be a fast mover and bring your content to Hummingbird, make it understandable by Hummingbird. Now let's talk about how do context and semantics change search, or how does Google's understanding of semantics and placement of content into context changes search. Now I've given you a little idea in the past few slides, but let's talk in detail about this, and let's talk in detail about how exactly it would change the way people search. Now till now you are trained to search for word combinations online. That's what we've been traditionally doing online on almost all the search engines. Look for keywords. But that's not how you work in real life. When you want to know something in real life and you think somebody else would know about it, you ask them a question and they would then give you a detailed response about it, maybe some facts and some ideas that you were not aware of at all, or that you didn't know you needed to search for. That's why talking to a real person was always more informative than talking to the search engines, and search engines could not replace a real person. But when search engines understand the concepts, it will send you information, not data. Till now it's been sending you data that was a part of the database, but when it understands the concept, it will send you information about what you were looking for, and that information will not be limited to the keywords. It will be about the concept, about the topic. And Google will naturally favor all the content that it can understand because it already knows that content is more relevant to what the person is searching for. And of course, the content that it can't understand, it will be lesser in importance. So as I said it earlier, and I can't put enough stress on it, make sure your content is understandable for Google. That's why the on-page optimization till now, which was all about just keywords, putting in keywords in a specific density, writing a whole lot of articles, targeting a whole lot of keywords, that is going to change. On-page optimization is going to be a bit more technical. On-page optimization is going to be a bit more about semantics. It will be a bit more about being found by Google and being understood by Google. And finally, I want to tell you how exactly Hummingbird will make a major difference to the search engine world. Firstly, the long tail keywords will have a better exposure. They will deliver more accurate results because Google understands the concepts and it can figure out what people are searching for, not just a phrase combination of 5 to 6 words, which would actually confuse Google earlier. And secondly, Hummingbird will enable Google to answer questions better. Google can now process what you want to know and it can give you better answers. It can give you more accurate answers, and you will be able to phrase your questions to Google in the form of a regular question. That is what context and semantics will do to search engine. It's going to change the way people search, and if that changes, you have to be updated so that you will be found by these people. Before you solve a problem, it's very important to understand it. That's why we need to understand how Hummingbird works and the technical bits behind it. That will help you use the measures that I suggest in the future lessons to solve your own unique problems, to implement your own unique solutions to the Hummingbird challenge that is now before you. Let's understand what's the core of Hummingbird, or what powers Hummingbird. Hummingbird is actually powered by a new Google technology called the Knowledge Graph. The Knowledge Graph is the world's biggest database of connected information. A little while ago, Google acquired a company called Freebase, which actually conceptualized the Knowledge Graph and started collecting information from the web and putting it together, establishing connections between the information. Now this technology, the knowledge graph technology, uses a special algorithm to find out how things are connected, what are the connecting points between the things. It sources its data from Freebase, which is still being updated regularly. It acquires its data from Wikipedia, which is of course the biggest source of information in the world over virtually every topic that you can imagine. But it's not limited to these two sources. Knowledge Graph also gets its information from a lot of other sources which are constantly being updated and monitored. Now, Knowledge Graph actually connects the things as we've already discussed, as I've already told you, and with Knowledge Graph powering search, Google will be able to understand the topic, the relationship between the topics, and go beyond the search to give you better results for your search queries. Any discussion about Hummingbird is incomplete if you don't talk about the mobile web. The mobile web, or the shifting of internet users from the desktop or the PC format to mobiles, was one of the most compelling factors that created the need of something like Hummingbird. On a mobile phone, it's very frustrating to redo queries, searching for information again and again with different keywords, because the keypad is so small and you can't really be expected to type in the queries again and again. Google has tried to solve this problem partially using voice queries, but even that's not so accurate as it should be. That's why on the mobile phone, Google needs to get search right the first time, and that's where the future of internet is. Till now, this problem has not been solved. That's why you will notice a phenomena. Social is big on mobile. Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Skype, all of these tools are very, very popular on mobile phone, and in some cases, or in many cases I would say, these tools are being used more on the mobile phone than on the PC. But this is not true for search. For Google, most of the search queries are still coming from the PC format. Why is that so? Because the format of the search that Google has right now is not suitable for mobile, but it cannot afford to ignore the huge number of customers who are on the mobile and who want to find information on mobile. That's why Google has been evolving a mobile-centric strategy from a long time. Think about Android, think about voice search, and now Hummingbird. All of these are links in the chain of mobile search, or the future of internet. Hummingbird is an important step forward because it lets Google understand the concept and give users better results the first time, which is very important for mobile. And in the coming days, you will find this expanding more and more. You will get specialized tools for the mobile phone from Google. So be ready for it. Be mobile friendly. Design a website which is viewable on the mobile. That's very important for you. And take a cue from Google. Make mobile readiness a part of your internet strategy, and do it today. Hello and welcome to the third part of the Google Hummingbird course. In this video, I want to talk to you about some bad SEO practices that might have brought in results in the past, but which will certainly not bring you any results in the future. If you've done this in the past, you might need to repair the damage done now, but you will surely want to avoid these practices in the future. Make sure you don't continue doing them. So let's get started. Once upon a time, link building was the most important step, or the most effective step to get ranked on Google and to get visitors on your website. Now, people did a lot of things that was not a good idea to get these links pointing to their websites, and which should not be done now, of course. They include using automated software. Don't use automated software to comment on blogs, because these software will just put in repetitive comments on, say, hundreds or thousands of blog articles with just spam text and a link to your web page or website. But this is considered spamming, and Google has a very bad view about it now. If you have these links pointing to your website, they will be there for a long time. It will be hard to, in fact, it's harder to remove these comments and posts from the blogs than it is to put them there. So once the damage is incurred, it's very hard to reverse it. So don't make the mistake of using automated software to comment on blogs. The second tactic, don't make a big number of links through profiles on website. Now many websites offer memberships, or they let you sign up, and sometimes they let you put in a little text about yourself in the profile, and that might also include a link. Many website owners have used these profiles to spam websites, put in fake profiles with links pointing to their articles, and keywords, and get ranked for keywords. But that's not a good idea now, because again, it's suffering from the same problem. It's spamming, and Google has a very bad view of spam. If you do this, there will be problems in the future. The third point is a bit more subtle. Don't buy links from other webmasters. That doesn't mean that you cannot advertise on other websites, but it simply means you should not buy links from webmasters. Now there are link farms, or there are website owners who sell links commercially, who just have some content and a number of links on their website, the sidebars or some places like that. And now they're selling links commercially, which is not good, and Google is working very hard to identify such websites and penalize them. So if you're buying links from a webmaster, that's a dangerous practice, and it might get your website penalized. The third part is, of course, again the same thing. Don't become a part of a link network or a blog network that promises to put your link on thousands of websites. That is not going to work anymore, because all of these websites are probably low ranked websites anyway, and having a link on say 500 or 600 of these websites pointing to your web page or website is again in the same category of spam. So don't do this. Instead, what you need to do is take an organic approach to links. Go and approach webmasters who are from the same niche, contribute to their websites, build up the links organically. Be relevant. Make sure you have links on relevant sites only. Irrelevancy is spam. The second thing you have to do, that you can actually do to build a link, or maybe more important than a link, get known in your community and attract visitors, is to answer questions on community websites. There are a number of community websites and who will let you put a link in your profile, and if you answer questions there, people might visit you. They might like to consult you, or they might like to talk to you, or they might, when they see your profiles, they might click on the links and come to your website. And that's a very nice social way of building links and getting visitors organically to your website. So do things which are good. Be social, use the social media network, but don't use these massive link building practices which will get you de-ranked from Google. Moving on from links outside the website, let's focus on the content on your website. And here you must be very, very careful not to allow bad quality articles on your website. And I don't mean the articles have to be written like one of the leading experts or professionals. No, nothing of that sort. What I mean is, you must avoid articles that you know are badly written purposefully. So don't hire writers who are not good in the language and who don't have any knowledge of the subject matter and are not ready to do research either. So avoid all the cheap article writers who will just give you 500 or 600 words for $5 and not put in anything useful in those articles. The second thing you must avoid are article spinning software. You must have seen advertisements for some software like this who tell you that they can rewrite the articles in such a manner that the search engines won't detect, and it will change the article totally. Advertised in many places, but frankly these article spinning software are not going to be healthy for your website, because what they do is they change some words with synonyms or sometimes phrases with synonyms, and they prepare a new article which basically says the same thing. This falls into the category of duplicate content in Google, and it will get you de-ranked. Next point is not to put up small 500 word articles. Now, as a SEO professional, you might have put up maybe hundreds of 500 word articles on your websites in the past, but don't do that anymore. It's become such a common trope that everybody knows that it's abuse of the search engine system. If you are writing an article, make it comprehensive, make it long, make it well written article on the topic that you've targeted. Don't write small articles which say basically nothing. And the next important topic is make sure your articles are human readable. They are detailed and have more than just text. Now, if you are getting articles spun or you're getting articles written by bad quality writers, they're not going to be human readable at all. They're going to be boring. They will turn people off. They will irritate people, and they will just move on from your website to some other place. That is not a good thing, because you want to control those bounce rates. They're keeping a healthy, maintaining a healthy website with people wanting to see your other articles is a good thing, and it will help you get ranked higher. The next practice you should strongly discourage is keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is targeting a keyword in the article, repeating it again and again inside the article in a forced manner without caring about whether it looks streamlined, whether it's in the flow or not. That is a bad practice now. Don't repeat keywords unnecessarily. Target keywords in titles, headings, and make an organic article with natural flow. Don't try to put in the keyword 3 times in every paragraph or some secret formula of density that someone might have suggested to you. That's not a good idea. Instead, focus on readability. Secondly, you should target keywords that are directly related to your website or niche. Don't stuff in keywords that are not from your niche. If you're talking about mobile phones, don't put in keywords which are related to Hollywood or actresses or actors, because they are not going to be relevant, and even if they get you a small amount of visitors, it's going to backfire when Google penalizes you because there is no relevance in your website. So make sure that you target keywords which are directly related to your niche. Focus on it. Then we come to duplicated or similar content. I've already talked to you about maintaining the quality of articles on your website, and this is related to that. Do not prepare multiple articles saying the same thing to target keywords. That is a bad practice, because if you're putting up an article that says basically the same thing, that uses basically the same words, which is just the content of some other article rehashed, it is going to fall in the category of duplicated content. Do not get articles rewritten manually or by software to target keywords. Article rewriting is not a good idea. Instead of that, it would be much better if you handed the topic to someone and asked them to write a fresh article on it. Let them get their fresh perspective, let them do their own research and prepare an original article. Rewriting will still repeat a lot of the original article, which will harm you. Do not upload articles just by changing the titles and the content here and there. Now that is a very, very bad practice. If you've been uploading articles which are the same, just changing the titles and the meta tags, maybe the meta description, and just changing some words here and there in the paragraphs, it is going to backfire massively, because they're going to be they're all going to be flagged for duplicated content, and this will get your entire website penalized. So if you have duplicate content on your website, remove it. Start working on it now and remove it. If you've been in the website business for a little while, you might have heard of the term Ajax. Ajax is the technology which makes your website more interactive and responsive by loading content through JavaScript. Instead of loading the content from the server when the page is initially called, a lot of content might be loaded later on using JavaScript. Now that poses a big problem for search engines, because search engines can only see the text which is loaded initially by the web page. They cannot run JavaScript. That's why they cannot see the content loaded by JavaScript, especially on interactive actions like clicks and things. That's why you should avoid using scripts that use callbacks and Ajax to load content. That's not a good idea, because the search engines are totally blind to the content that you're loading using Ajax. Load the content that's absolutely important to load by Ajax. Don't fall for the flashy gimmicks and technical wizardry and damage your website by making your website inaccessible for the search engines. That's not a good idea, and that is why you must avoid those single page websites that tell you that it's only one page containing all the pages of your website, and people get to see different parts of it just by clicking a button. Now that those kind of themes might look good to the user, but they don't appear to the search engines at all. A lot of that content is not visible to the search engines at all. So it's better to use a proper URL relationship to each article, to each piece of content, and load your data from server and serve it to the search engines as well as the user. The next tip is serve what you offer. Do not redirect your viewers to a different piece of content using JavaScript, because that means the search engine would still see the old content that you serve to them, but the user will be directed to something else. That's a violation of the search engine rules, and Google has mechanism to check that. If you do this, your website will not appear on search. And don't serve different content to search engines and to the user again using JavaScript. There might be specialized themes or plugins that you might have seen who do this, but they will bring you bad reputation and they will bring you penalties from Panda. So don't do that. You must avoid it. In this lesson, we discussed some of the most common abusive SEO practices that you must avoid at all costs. In the next lesson, we will start discussing some good SEO practices that you can include in your plan, which will get you better rankings and help you survive Hummingbird. Hello and welcome to Keywords Cheat Getting Over Google Hummingbird Training Part 4. My name is Cheat Gupta, and in this video I will be talking about Google Hummingbird good SEO practices that will help you get ranked on Google Hummingbird and will help you maintain your rankings for a long time. So let's get started. I want to begin by making the point that Google is not your enemy. Regardless of all the people who have told you that Google is against you, that you need to fight Google to get ranked, or you need to find a backdoor, it's all lies. Google is not your enemy, it's your friend. It's the business that brings you visitors, which bring you revenue. It's the company, it's the tool that visitors use to find you on the internet. And without something like Google, it would be much more harder, much more costlier to be found on the internet, if possible at all. That's why I want you to change your SEO mindset. From today, consider Google your friend and find ways to get long-term SEO ranking on Google. So begin by finding out what rules Google has for content and SEO. Learn the rules. I've already given you some bad practices, and now I will be talking about some good practices. So learn what the good practices are, and once you know the rules, know that you can stretch them, that you can find a way to push them to the limit, but you must not break them. You must not do things which are bad for your rankings and for your business. You must not do things which are bad for the viewers or for the users of the website, which is Google. So use only those SEO techniques which are Google friendly and which will keep your rankings for a long time, because I want to repeat the point again. You are in the business for a long time. You will be investing money to get ranked, and you want to keep those rankings. So to keep them long time, follow only good SEO practices, which of course we'll see in this lesson. In all the years that I've been on the internet and I've been running websites on the internet, I found the biggest problem that website owners, that content marketers suffer from is short-sightedness. They don't have a long-term view about their content and about their websites. Frankly, it's harder and more expensive to undo bad SEO than it is to do good quality SEO in the first place. So that's why I want to tell you again, make sure all the content that you put on your website is good quality. It is written organically, your website is structured well, it's technically made well, so that you don't suffer bad consequences once a penalty like Panda or Penguin hits. So avoid quick fixes and magic pills that just that claim to give you quick results and exponential growth. That doesn't happen, my friend. So these things will maybe give you some short results for a small time, but in the long view, they will get you only bad results. But here's one way you can use to grow fast, and that is go viral on the social web. Use the social media to spread the word and find innovative ways to do this. There are a number of successful experiments. You might have seen the studies or successful test cases in which people have taken their content to big audience through the social web by making it go viral. So target that if you want rapid growth, not the bad quality quick fixes. One of the most difficult jobs while doing SEO is, of course, selecting the right keywords. And typically, a good SEO professional will invest a lot of time and effort to find the right keywords for his promotions, for his content. And here are some recommendations that I have for you for selecting the good keywords. The first one is, don't target keywords from an alphabetical list. Focus on semantics and on context. Now, targeting keywords from an alphabetical list was not a bad idea before Hummingbird, because Google was still a text database, and if you were in your niche, you could just take a list of keywords, maybe spanning 100, 200, 300 keywords, and just go serially through them. But now I don't think that's a good idea. What you need to do instead is identify your niche, identify the context in which you're building content, the audience that you're targeting, and write content with the audience in mind. Pick the keywords, but make sure they are contextually related to each other. Make sure that there is an organic flow of information and it's all connected. When you link other articles to your main article or your article in question, make sure there is a contextual connection. Make sure the linking is not random. Make sure you're not linking to non-topical content. All of these things are now more important. So select keywords that are directly related to your niche. They should be topical, they should be relevant. And start with the long tail keywords first. Now this is very important for somebody who has a new website or maybe a smaller website and who's just started targeting search engines, who still has to build up a reputation and a position online. Start with the long tail keywords. They are not searched so often, but there are many more long tail keywords in place than the big keywords. And by targeting the long tail keywords, you can bring yourself an assured audience which will fuel your website, because these people may give you the boost to get into the more competitive keywords. So make sure that you don't target the most competitive keywords right at the beginning. That's why you must analyze competition for keywords before targeting them. Sometimes you will find that even a very good keyword which is being searched a lot in Google will still have an amazing amount of low competition. The key is to look and find. If you find these keywords, target them and you will have results. One more trick that I use pretty often and which will definitely work for you if you use it too, is to target the future trends early. If there is an event which is going to happen in the future, maybe 4 months, maybe 6 months down the line, and you know about it, and you know then when it happens, it's going to be an important thing and people will be looking for the information connected to it, target it now. Because right now, it's a long tail keyword. You might be able to grab it pretty quickly if you prepare a good article on it. And when the event actually happens or when the event actually unfolds, you're going to get a massive amount of traffic from it. It has worked for me again and again. And the best thing is, every time you get good traffic from such an happening, you will be ranking better, your page rank will improve, and you will climb up higher and higher. And now here is some practical link building advice. The first one is stay in your niche, which means if you want links, you want to build links, get them from websites in your niche. Don't go all out hunting for links from any content, from any blog, whether or not related to your niche or your topic. That really is not a good thing to do anymore. That's why you should not pay professional link sellers to make links for you, because these guys will not care about the context. They will not care about the semantics of your content. They will build a link without awareness of the impact that it will have on you for long term, or without even caring for it. So don't pay the link farmers, don't pay blog networks, because these guys have already been proven not to work, especially after the Penguin update. And the last piece of advice that I have for you is, don't worry too much about building links. Build links, connect with people, talk on social media, question answer websites, make a community, be a part of a community, but don't really stress yourself to death about link building, because frankly, link building as a means of promoting your website is now not so effective anymore. Instead, focus on the content and you may get better results. This next bit is very interesting. How can you market to the search engines without marketing to them? The fact is, Google loves content that people love. So make the social web an important part of your marketing strategy. Social media is fueled by people, not by bots. All the love that you get on the social media is authenticated that it's from real people, and that's why search engines like Google really love to get the endorsement of social media for your content. If your content has the endorsement of social media, of the people who are on the social web, you will definitely get ranked much higher. That's why it should be very important for you to be on YouTube, Facebook, and now Google Plus, because that is the only network to which Google has full access to. So even if you feel that Google Plus has a limited audience, make sure that it's a part of your marketing strategy. Be on Google Plus, talk on Google Plus, and share on Google Plus. Of course, there's Twitter, and you have to be on Twitter too. Have a presence here, market yourself, connect with people, and spread the word about your website. You will find really amazing results, and your website will creep up the search engine rankings right in front of your eyes. Because the search engines keep a track of shares and likes and all the other social forms of endorsement on the internet whenever they can. And they might not tell you so, but they give a huge value to these recommendations. So make sure you exploit every opportunity that presents to be on the social web and to expand your audience on the social web. Hello and welcome to the fifth part of Keywords Cheat Getting Over Hummingbird course. In this lesson, we will talk about some more good SEO practices. So let's get started. Well, Google is the search engine that brings you traffic. So as a webmaster, as a website owner, it's your prime responsibility to make sure that Google is able to access your content, it's able to reach your website, it's able to get all the content in a format that Google understands and it can make best use of. So here are some tips to do that. The first thing that you can do is put your content on Google properties like Google Plus, YouTube, Blogger. Now that's very obvious. Even though you might not agree that Google Plus is a very good social network or it's very popular, then also you should target it, because Google has best access to all the Google properties like Google Plus, YouTube, Blogger, and all the other products it has out in the market like Picasa and everything else. So whenever you put some content on a Google property, Google is able to index it the fastest and the status is clear. Google knows how much of the content it can show in how many places, and the restrictions are minimum because Google wants people to be able to search all its properties fast and well. So if you want to build a presence in the social networks or build a presence around the web in different places, do that by all means, but do not ignore Google properties. Make them a part of your web content strategy and it will certainly help you get ranked faster. The second point I want to talk about is semantic HTML. That's a very important recommendation from me to you. Now that will require some technical study. You will have to understand what semantic HTML is, and if you can make use of the latest HTML standards, the HTML5, then the benefits are going to be enormous, because HTML5 takes semantics to a new level. It has a lot more detailed control over the semantic part of the HTML standard, and it gives you a lot of control to describe what your content is all about. And if you use the latest semantic standards, you will be able to tell Google exactly what your content is about, how it is structured, and what Google should take from it. That is going to be really useful, because Google will use this information to display your content in the search very accurately and very precisely, and it will certainly bring you more visitors as time goes. Then the next format is use micro format XML to describe your content. Micro format is a standard which is jointly developed by a lot of search engines, not just Google, but Yahoo and Bing. They also use micro formats. And if you use micro formats in your documents, the search engines, including Google, of course, will be able to pick up specific information from your data, things like images, things like basic attributes about your article, and it will be able to use this data to display it directly in the search results. Now imagine if you were running a cooking website, for instance, and you used micro format to describe your recipe, the ingredients, the time it takes, and so on, then Google will be able to display all this information directly in the search result, and it would definitely improve your click-through rate. It would definitely give you many more visitors. So study micro formats for your niche and try to make use of it. The fourth point I want to talk about is hackable URLs. It's a very simple thing, and in most cases it can be just enabled in your content management system if you're using WordPress, for instance, by just changing a setting. But I'm really surprised by how many people ignore this, and they're still putting up URLs like $p=123. Now that is not acceptable. We are in the era when hackable URLs are very important, and search engines like hackable URLs. If you're putting up hackable URLs, the search engine does not consider your content dynamic, and it will rank it better, and the URL keyword will also have an impact on the search itself. If internet is your business, you can't afford to do a shoddy job on your website. You have to make sure that the website you create or the website you're running meets the technical standards that Google has set, that the internet expects from you. And some of these are very, very basic things that we neglect, which result in lower rankings for the content. The most important, of course, is to validate your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript. If you're buying a theme or if you're asking your designer to create your website, no matter what you do, make sure that your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript is validated, that it maintains the standards, that it has no problems, and Google is able to see that you're creating good quality content on your website. The second thing is to focus on performance. When the Google Spider reaches out to your website, it has a performance measure. It measures how long your website takes to return the content. Now remember, what you feed Google is what you feed the viewers, and how much time you take to feed the viewers is an important measure for Google, because Google wants to return the websites which are delivering the best user experience to the people who visit Google. That's why if your website is very slow, if it is very inefficient, it will be lowered in rankings. It will appear lower in the rankings. So make sure that your website is working fast, you have proper servers, good quality bandwidth, and are prepared to impress Google when the bot visits you. The third point is actually connected to the first 2 points, and that is pare your website code to the minimum. Don't fill it with nonsense data. Don't fill it with CSS that you're not using, JavaScript functions that are never called, HTML that can be written in a more compact fashion. Semantically, make sure you don't make these basic mistakes. Make sure that the HTML is semantic, it's properly written, that you are not using CSS styles inside the text at all the places, or you're not using CSS tags that you never use in the content at all. Do a little audit now and then of your website, see the source code, or ask your designer or your programmer to do an audit sometime, and make sure that all the flotsam, all the bad code is removed. Keep your website running efficiently so that Google will be able to get the content without any problems. It will see that your website is professionally run and deserves to be on a higher position in the search rankings. If you want your website to do well consistently on search, you have to make your website an authority. You have to tell Google that you are a specialist in the niche that you're working in, that you've got the best quality content, and you are consistent with your output. To do that, here are some pointers that you can use. The first is target topics comprehensively. Identify your niche, identify all the different nooks and crannies, and try to be regular with your output, try to be consistent, and try to cover a nice part of your niche, or at least try to specialize in whatever corner you've picked, and make sure you are consistent with good quality articles coming up every now and then. Of course, you've got to update your website regularly with as many good articles as you can, but it doesn't mean that every one of your article has to be a huge top quality amazing piece of article. Of course, if it is an amazing piece of content every time, that's very nice, but if it's not, don't worry, lead with your good articles and follow with all the other content, but make sure that all of your content is not bad quality. There is a ratio that you can pick up. Maybe you will write 2 good articles and maybe 3 articles which are not amazing, which are not as comprehensive, but make sure the ratio is in the favor of good quality articles. Then the next thing you can do is target a variety of content, not just text. If your blog or if your website is all about text, that's great, that's fine, because you're gonna be ranked on the basis of that. But you should include things like images, videos in your content, and make sure that the images or videos or whatever you put in, they are tagged properly. Make sure you use the alt tags for images. Make sure that the videos that you're putting in are embedded from YouTube, because that will give your YouTube channel a boost. Make sure that whatever content you create on YouTube, it's properly tagged, the titles are good, the description is good, and that the viewership benefits that you generate from your website follow back to your YouTube channel. And the next thing that you could do to improve your authority on Google is to claim authorship. This is a relatively recent development by Google, which allows you to claim authorship of an article as an individual, and when Google displays these results from you, it will also display your photograph and your name, and people will be able to relate to you, and they will be able to find more content by you online easily. Now this is a perfect way of making yourself an authority figure on Google, and if you claim your authorship, you're definitely going to get good results. And there is a side advantage. It will also improve your standing on social media, Google+, because authorship is related to Google+. And the next thing you could do is build a community around your site. Try to engage people in as many ways as possible. Get them to comment, answer their comments, and promise them things, tell them about your plans, and discuss things with them. Try to build a community, try to improve the engagement, and if you can maybe use some plugin which has question and answer features or anything similar to that, maybe a forum if you are comfortable running a forum. Do these things to improve the quality and the engagement on your website. It will go a long way in turning you into a great success story on Google. Among the many factors that Google has to assess the value of the site for the visitor, one of the most important factors is how long is the viewer staying on the target website. Are they visiting any other pages there or not? That's why you need to maximize the viewer retention. If your retention rates are high, if your bouncing rates are very low, if your bounces are very low, then Google knows that your content is really valuable, that people want to see more content from you, and conversely you will appear higher on the search engine. This is in fact the only true measure of how much the viewer liked the page that Google has direct access to. Everything else can be gamed, including things like social sharing, but this cannot be gamed. So it's the most authentic source of information for Google, and Google is already using this model very successfully in YouTube, because YouTube is video oriented. It's measuring how long each video is watched, and if a video is watched to the end more often, if the people are staying on a video longer, then Google knows that that video ought to be ranked higher because people want to watch it. So this model is being followed in YouTube very successfully, and it's also being followed in Google search itself. The reason is you have already given a lot of data to Google. We give data to Google whether we like it or not. Either by being found on Google. When people search for terms and they find our website on Google and people are referred to a website from Google, Google is able to get some data about us. When the Google bot hits our website, it gets some data about us, and the rest we supply to Google by using tools like Google Analytics. You always have the option to share some information with Google from Google Analytics, and based on what you share, Google is able to make a pretty good estimate of your website. It's able to understand how your website is structured, what parts are more popular and what parts are less popular, and it uses this information undoubtedly in making its search better. That's why you must minimize your bounces. Secondly, don't overload with ads and suggest quality links. These days, overloading the page with advertisements will get you a panda penalty. So don't fill your page with lots of ads all over the place covering the content. That's not a good idea anymore. Instead, focus on good quality content and do monetize from ads, but don't overdo it. This concludes the 5th lesson of the Keywords Cheat Getting Over Hummingbird course. In the next lesson, we will talk about contextual and semantic keywords and how to find them online. So see you on the next lesson. Welcome to the 6th part of the Keywords Cheat Getting Over Hummingbird course. My name is Cyril Gupta, and in this particular lesson we are going to talk about semantic and contextual keywords and how you should exploit them or how you should target them to make a better presence on Google and get ranked better. Before you even target any keyword, you need to understand your niche well. You need to know how vast the niche is, how much room for exploration there is. You must know about the small nooks and crannies that people might have neglected and which will be helpful for you to bring you fresh traffic. You must know all about your competition, what they're doing, what they're targeting, and you must make context map for your content after exploring the keywords. Right, so Keywords Cheat has a nice niche explorer feature. Use it to drill down into different niches, to discover sub niches, to discover corners that people haven't seen, to discover keywords that people haven't targeted and which could be very fruitful for you. Take all this information, compile it, and make a context map which should tell you what your content strategy is going to be. Identify which part of your niche you're going to target first, which part of your niche are you going to target second, and make sure that whatever part you target it comprehensively. The sub niche that you target, it should be targeted comprehensively, and all the articles in your sub niche or in your group are linked from each other. You make sure that the people who view these articles are able to explore the different articles you have. You can either link to your articles from your content right from within the content, or you can create a box, maybe a block, where you can tell them what the suggested reading is. The idea is to give the search engine access to all your contextual content and also to give your viewers access to other interesting pieces or other interesting articles that they might want to read. So try this, and the search engine will definitely identify that you are targeted towards that kind of topic, and you are matching the context that it has, which will help you when you are seeking rankings or when search engines return the results for that context. You will be a part of it. Now let's talk about how to get contextual keywords. Now this is very easy. If you got Keywords Cheat, you can use the Keywords Cheat map feature, which will give you a nice little map which you can explore and get all the contextual keywords you want. It's pretty fast and it's very efficient, and it'll give you almost an endless amount of contextual keywords depending on your niche. The second way to get contextual keywords is to use the Google Knowledge Graph or the Freebase. You can use either of these two. You can go into Freebase or you can go into Knowledge Graph, and you can type in your niche keyword or you can type in your niche's topic, and you will get a lot of information about that niche and connected topics. Those connected topics are your contextual keywords, and you can use them to prepare good quality contextual content for your websites. Then the next way is to use Wikipedia. Just search on Wikipedia, and then this will involve a little manual effort. You have to find all the topics or all the things which are mentioned in the Wikipedia which you can identify as keyword, and you can keep a record of those and you can target them. Now this is of course a bit more effort intensive, but it'll give you pretty good results because those keywords are not a part of any list, and if you target those keywords they will bring you some awesome amount of traffic. And the last thing is to target longer keywords. Till now, most of the people who've been aggressively targeting keywords, they've been targeting smaller keywords, which was, preferred by Google and which would give people more targeted results for what they were searching for. But with the Hummingbird update, Google is also geared to answer longer queries very well, and that includes questions. So if you target these keywords, the longer keywords, you can get pretty good amount of traffic from these newfound keyword gold mines which people are not targeting yet. So make sure you go for the longer keywords and make them a part of your content strategy. And now I want to talk to you about the benefits of targeting contextual and semantic keywords. The first benefit is, of course, you'll be better understood by Google because Google will be able to place your content, all of it, in context. And Google will put you at the right spots even when the people who are searching are not searching for the keyword that you're targeting. Google will know that your content is related to that particular search, and it will put your content over there so that the people may be able to find you for places you least expected. Thirdly, you will engage your client better. If you are decisively topical, if you are absolutely relevant, the people who visit your website will be more engaged to you and will respond to your calls of action more frequently and in a better manner. That is why you will get higher returns per lead. After all, our internet business is all about creating an income. That is the best representation of our success. It's not the amount of visitors we get, it's the amount of money that we can make from them. That's why if you are contextually relevant, if you are accurately presented in the search engines, and if the right people find you, you will be able to monetize them better and get higher returns per lead. And then we have the most important benefit of all, which is you will not be deranked by Google updates when they arrive. Whenever you use a short-term practice or a short-sighted practice, Google will build an update eventually which will target it, and that will kill your business. It has happened so many times that I really should not be stressing it, but people are still using these bad practices. So I want to tell you, make yourself absolutely clear on that respect. Target only good quality content, create good quality content, and target the viewers, the right viewers, and get the right kind of keywords, and you will not face the risk of getting de-ranked like the rest of the people who do not follow these practices.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and go to technicforce.com for more tools and training.